my God, man. Do you know what this means? This Skitter's gonna be turned upside down, I tell you, upside down. If you get on his bad side, brother, you're done for. Now, it's only a matter of time before he finds out, and when he does, no matter where he is, get ready, gentlemen, because hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming.
It's a tough mission, but I think you're ready.
If we're going to save the colonies, we're going to need top Gundam pilots. Transforming Wing Gundam is the most powerful Gundam in the galaxy. But before you can unleash its full potential, you have to transform it from mobile suit mode to bird mode. That's why we need pilots with an ability to take on Gundam mechanics. To beat the best, you have to be the best.
Hey, this is Stephanie Shea, and you're listening to Gundam at MAHQ.
You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy! Not now, damn it!
Autobots and Decepticons.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Gundam at MAHQ. This is episode 292, and I'm one of your hosts, Chris. Joining me, as always, is the Soul Bro. Say hello, Soul Bro.
Oh my God, man! What a couple weeks it's been, man! World War III happened, man. Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, man. How did we survive? And yes, I'm unmuted. Yes, I am unmuted. They should be able to hear my voice. Hopefully everybody is having a good night. Thanks for coming out and watching us.
So as you've probably noticed, we are short a Neo, and there is a reason for that. He's on vacation, so we wish him well. And we are also doing a topic not quite what we had originally planned. You know, we had plans to do Gundam Seed Freedom last week, the same week that it screened in the US, but unfortunately Neo wasn't able to get out to see the movie, so we will have to review the movie at a later time. Soulbro and I saw it with General Hate, so he's going to join us. So, you know, three-fourths of us have seen it, but you know, it's that last bit with Neo, so you know, it might take a couple of months, you know, until Freedom is available somehow, whether it's methods or legitimately. So if you're wondering why it's going to take us so long to review the movie, that's why. But you know, it is definitely a movie of all time. It is a movie that has a beginning, middle, and end, and it is definitely a sequel to Destiny in all the ways that entails.
What an endorsement.
No, I mean it's not bad, but you know, we'll get into that some other time. So watch for that, and you know, because Neo's on vacation, you know, we're We're going to respect the sanctity of the Larry King Memorial News Desk.
We
and
are.
We will not be sauntering over to it. So watch next time for your news when Neo makes his triumphant return. So we were kicking around a topic that we could do, and something that we've talked about in bits and bobs across
Oh yeah.
many episodes in the last couple of years, and that is, in essence, what the fuck is wrong with the entertainment industry?
Yeah. It's been a mess. It's been a bit of a mess.
It's been a
recently.
mess.
Ooh.
And we've seen this both in the video game space and in the TV and film space. Figure why don't we start with video games first, and then we'll move on into
Yeah.
TV and film.
By all means.
So video games are a very strange beast right now because you have some games. Obviously, you always have your typical high performers like Madden, Call of Duty, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But last year was blockbuster for games like Spider-Man 2, which, as of the most recent numbers I've seen, has sold over 10 million copies. Some really big successes of different types of games.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, last year we saw a record 10,500 layoffs in gaming industry, and that was seen as a record amount of loss.
Yeah.
And you know where we are right now, Soul Brew?
No.
May?
When it comes to the layoffs themselves, when it comes to how many people?
Yes.
Go for it.
9,500.
God damn. Yeah, I mean it's
only the middle of May.
You know what's wild is that not only did animation kind of benefit during the pandemic because it was one of the few things that we could actually have created that people could do from home and keep people isolated to do that. Video games was the other industry that did extremely well over the last 5 years. So to see this happening now is kind of insane. Do you think it might be the industry kind of trying to transition into AI practices and things like that, where they can have less staff in order to still pull these games off? Because we've had some pretty wondrous technological advances over the last 2 years, and I know a lot of it could be applicable to game production. But
well, I saw a headline earlier this week from EA that they have a hunger to introduce AI into their processes, which means lay off people, not actually improve the process.
yeah,
And
exactly.
my grand thesis for all of this, to no one's surprise, is going to be capitalism bad.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, yes, it's reductive to just say that, but I will explain more. But at the end, that's the reason why you have all of these woes in these industries, because capitalism bad. Let's not try to pretend that it's anything else. They say like, oh, we overhired during the pandemic, so this is a course correction. No, this is bullshit.
Of course.
This is Wall Street banks, all these Wall Street finance bros. They are obsessed with the lie of infinite growth.
Yes.
Infinite growth is impossible. There are only so many markets. We are one planet. There are only so many people on this planet who you could possibly appeal to with your product. There is no such thing as infinite growth. There never has been. There never will be. The lie. Wall Street insists upon it, and these companies will bend over backwards, destroying themselves, trying to achieve something that is unachievable, and creating a worse product, leaving tens of thousands of people out of jobs, and nobody is happy except the executives who cash out with their golden parachutes and then fail upwards to their next job, where they will do the same thing all over again and then fail upwards somewhere else after leaving wreckage of corporate devastation.
Yeah, and it seems to be so rewarding for the people in charge that they don't really care about how they leave the company. You can actually fail upwards nowadays, and you can continue to repeat this crazy process until the company's outright destroyed or whatnot. And it comes to make me feel like these guys are being rewarded for this, and that's what ultimately happens anyway. That they can go in, ravage a company, work the employees to a point where they no longer need them, and then just usher them out, and then the company crumbles and ends up being absorbed into another company, like the situation with Microsoft, where they've absorbed so many companies, and now they themselves have kind of rebranded Xbox into what Microsoft Gaming now, and it's causing a lot of dismay in the industry as well. Fred says, I know someone who got laid off from the Infinity Ward layoffs. The whole job market is completely screwed now. Dude, that's a shame, man. It used to be that you could actually get a job for a good long while in these industries, especially if you had a unique talent, but not now, man. But yeah, capitalism, it's rearing its ugly head, especially this year, and they're blaming everything but the people in charge, which is fucking awful.
Well, let's look at one of gaming's favorite villains, Bobby Kotick.
Oh, of course.
I literally wrote a graduate paper on what a fucking mess Activision was under him, and I had to keep updating that paper multiple times throughout the semester I was writing it, because every fucking week there was some new revelation about how horrible Activision Blizzard was.
Wow.
And it changed the scope of that paper like 4 times in one semester. So this man is absolutely awful.
Mm-hmm.
Threatens to kill women, harasses them.
I heard about that.
Creates a culture of just disgusting bros harassing women and having cubicle drunk parties where they would get drunk and go from cubicle to cubicle trying to get people to get drunk with them. This is during work hours, by the way.
Really?
Or, dudes harassing women as usual, senior level employees having their subordinates do their work for them so they can play games not for work, but for leisure, like their own personal games that they want to play. They would sit there in their offices playing those games all day while their subordinates did their work.
Oh my God.
Getting a hold of some revenge porn from a female worker and spreading it around the office and harassing her about it, and eventually she committed suicide. So yeah, great culture that he created. This guy is getting a payout from Microsoft, the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's already a billionaire.
Yeah,
he's already a billionaire. He's already a piece of shit. He does not deserve or need a single penny more for the rest of his miserable fucking life, and yet he's gonna cash out to the tune of that. And then who knows what he's gonna do next and where he's gonna poison next after this. So that's one thing.
It's almost a huge injustice, because when you look at someone like, say, Shigeru Miyamoto, when he retires, he's not leaving with that much money. He's not leaving with that much. Not compared to Kotick, who's done nothing but just like ruin lives. Versus someone who's actually been a creative that's improved the genre and the medium of video games in general. But someone like this guy is gonna just walk away, clean with the golden parachute of hundreds of millions of dollars plus the billions he already has. And I know of how many I know he owns a lot of yachts, which is crazy too. But yeah, it's despicable.
He sure does.
It's fucking despicable, man. I don't even know what to say.
And then you look at all of this consolidation. Microsoft now owns Activision Blizzard.
Yep.
They had bought Bethesda a couple of years ago, and what do? They're just firing people left and right and shutting down studios. We saw this week, shutting down Arcane Austin, shutting down Tango Gameworks, shutting down just all these studios, just laying off people. And it's like, what is the strategy? What is the purpose behind all of this?
It's pleasing the stockholder.
Yeah, why,
they'll do things
why not sell off
Mm-hmm.
these companies and try to turn a profit? Or you look at one of my favorite villains of the gaming industry, Embracer Group.
Oh, wow.
The dumbest fucking company to ever exist. Have you been following the train wreck of the saga that is Embracer Group?
No, I have not. What have they been up to?
So they're a European conglomerate, and over the last few years, they took advantage of low interest rates to get cheap money. they just started buying up tons of studios all over the place, and they basically tried to acquire themselves into being on the same level as EA and Activision.
What?
You know, they notably bought studios like Gearbox. They bought Volition.
Yeah.
You know, they've gotten their hands on a lot of IP. They bought, you know, Tomb Raider out from Square Enix. You know, they had all this IP, but you know they weren't really putting out any huge hits. They also went and bought other unrelated businesses like tabletop gaming.
Oh, wow.
They bought Dark Horse Comics.
Yo.
And they were just borrowing their way through money like there was no tomorrow to keep making this company bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And obviously at some point you have to start doing that and you have to start turning a profit. Well, they were counting on a $2 billion investment from the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund. You know, the personal fund of the Saud family.
MBS?
You know, and MBS.
Yeah.
You know,
who owns everything?
Murderer and gamer.
Yeah.
He's interested in diversifying into industries other than oil, so making a lot of investment in game companies.
Yep.
So they had a plan to invest $2 billion in Embracer Group.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we don't know, at the last minute, that plan fell through. And suddenly, Embracer started laying off hundreds of people, shutting down entire studios, selling off studios for a pittance compared to what they spent buying them not too long before.
Oh.
And it was a mess. You know, similarly, we saw another situation with Epic where they invested tons of money trying to build up the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
It failed, and they started selling off assets like, you know, they sold off Bandcamp just a year after having acquired them.
Holy shit.
And, you know, half the employees were fired as part of the sale.
Wow.
So, you know, you just have all these terrible business decisions that are being made. You know, Tim Sweeney at Epic said, like, you know, this was his mistake, and that, you know, I thought he literally said, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not too far from what he said, something to the effect of, you know, I thought we could just spend more money than we were bringing in and that it'd be okay. It's like,
oh my god,
that's literally not how business works.
No.
Why do you, a CEO, think that you can just spend more than you make and that it's just going to all be okay? And you know, my thing that incenses me about this is, you know, he admits it's his mistake, but I don't see him resigning.
No, and he's probably gonna walk away with a golden parachute, like all of them.
But he laid off hundreds of people, so it's like, why do all these employees who did nothing wrong have to pay for your mistake? Why do you get to stay? All these people get sent packing.
Yeah, no one answers for their bad decisions.
You're so valuable as the CEO. Clearly not. Clearly you're not that smart if you made this massive investment in the metaverse that failed. Oh, and then of course they got rescued because, you know, Disney put some money into them. So it's like, again, no consequences and just fail upward into the next, you know, round of investment. So you just see these terrible decisions, these terrible bets on things like the metaverse, and now that that's a dud, pivoting to AI. You know, cutting headcounts to you know, make their bottom line look better for Wall Street. You know, terrible practices that we've seen all over the place. Crunch obviously just keeps getting worse.
Yeah,
it's typical practice now. On top of Crunch, that after a game comes out, that you know, companies will just lay off hundreds of employees. So it's like people have no stability in working in this field, and from what I've read, like a lot of people who get laid off, they get tired, not surprisingly, of constant layoffs. A bunch of people, they're just leaving the games industry altogether because it's not sustainable.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
Um,
I've personally in my life I've been laid off 4 times from 4 different corporate jobs. I've never worked in the gaming industry, but I come to expect it now. But it's a bad sign when the industry this prolific is putting people through this, and yeah, people do get fed up. And it's so hard to start your own company nowadays, especially if you're going to get into the realm of video games where AAA games cost hundreds of millions of dollars now. You either have to kind of start a small group and then get in there and try to make a game that is just undeniably awesome. But getting people's attention is difficult, and going up against these juggernauts is also difficult. But you're right. All I can think of is the crash of 1983, and I feel that we're kind of getting close to that with the way these people are running these companies. And it's not just video game companies; it's across the board, all sorts of corporations that are doing this. This is the kind of the biggest grift of our time right now. The way these CEOs are running these companies, these executives. I can't say I'm learned when it comes to this subject, but I just see the headlines every day and just wonder how people can keep getting away with this. And they are draining the life out of the video game industry, and as we'll talk about later, the animation industry too. But back to you. What were you going to say next?
I was gonna say that lots of people are just leaving the industry altogether.
Mm-hmm.
So people are abandoning careers that they love just because the industry is so volatile.
Yeah,
And how is that sustainable? I mean,
it's not.
I'm no financial analyst. I'm no expert on this stuff, but I can see the writing on the wall, and I have been saying for years
Mm-hmm.
the video game industry is heading for a major crash because AAA and now, God help us, quadruple A gaming
Oh my
is
God.
not sustainable. It's not sustainable. You cannot have these games that cost hundreds of millions to make, that take years to develop,
Mhm.
have hundreds of people working on them, sometimes in multiple studios across the world. And if the one game doesn't sell tens of millions of copies, it's considered a failure.
That's wild.
We've seen this from companies like Square Enix, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this game sold 6 million copies, but that was under our expectations. It's like, were your expectations? Were those expectations based in reality, or were they just underpants gnome math?
Well, in regards to Square Enix, and this is one of the few things I did hear about, is a lot of people are pointing out that their exclusivity deal with Sony kind of fucked them with Final Fantasy, the most recent one, and people are now wondering if the third one, if that even comes out, will finally be released across the board on all platforms. I don't know the arrangement of their deal with Sony when it comes to the Final Fantasy remakes, but that was something that came across the desk not too long ago. Is that game didn't sell nearly as much as they wanted it to, and I'm sitting here wondering why did we have to wait a year on PC and other platforms to get this game when you could have just released it all at once? It's
Let's not kid ourselves. There's no great loss for Final Fantasy not being on Xbox, because Xbox is doing
fair point. Yeah, it's not
terribly
doing,
this
not doing
this
very well.
generation. So the big, and it's Final Fantasy 7 remakes were never going to be on Switch because it's too low
Yeah,
powered. So
very true.
the big loss is the PC market,
Yeah,
which
sure
is a major sector still. So that can't be ignored. But
Yeah.
this is all unsustainable, and it's been going this way, if you think about it, ever since the PS3 360 generation.
Yeah.
Because that's when we made the switch to high definition, and having to have so many more assets and resources. If you think about it, think back to even as recently,
Mm-hmm.
for a generation that was 24 years ago, the PS2 generation.
Yeah.
A company could make a weird game that was not a huge success, and the studio's entire existence would not depend on that one random game.
Exactly. Yeah.
You think about how many weird games there were, like back in the NES and SNES era, because the cost of development were literally so much lower.
So much, and it of course took less people to make those games, and you can work on several projects at once. Nowadays, one AAA game takes up so many divisions at a company that's the only game they can work on. Look at Rockstar working on Grand Theft Auto right now. They're all hands on deck. It's not like they can work on 2 games at once. They all have to work on that game, and they have to hope that that game sells well. As opposed to how it was back in the PS2 days or even before that, where you had like a kind of a steady cycle of games coming out every couple of months from that company, and a good diverse amount of games coming out to meet all different people's types of tastes when it came to gaming. Nowadays, it's just like all in with with the gamble of a lifetime, and it's not smart to run it that way. It really isn't.
You know, my go-to example, which is now 30 years old, so keep that in mind. Super Metroid, one of the most acclaimed
Oh yes.
games of all time,
Mhm.
came out in 1994.
Yep.
Was made by a dozen people.
Yeah. Right.
A dozen people that you could that I'm sure were literally in one room.
Yeah. I've been going through and playing a lot of I've been just testing emulators and playing a lot of retro games as of recently. And when you go to the credits, it's just amazing how quickly the credits go, because or how many people's names you see repeat in different positions that worked on the game back in the day versus now, where it's thousands of names. And it's like, how do you guys keep this up? And to me, it kind of explains to me how I haven't really been interested in newer games as of recently, and how I've gone back to the older way of gaming, only because I find that there was a lot more innovation back then, and there was a lot less of these companies trying to meet these checklists of what these people want, and putting out games that are kind of made for today's audiences, and still trying to kind of innovate and change the taste of what gaming is nowadays to something that we may have never experienced before. Experimentation costs money, and it takes time, and these guys instead want to kind of put out the same old warmed over shit, as opposed to giving us something that's brand new, and having thousands of people do it, and then they're laying them off. It's a meat grinder, really.
If you look at it, you know, there's no more like middle of the road games anymore. Like,
No.
you know, all these big companies, they don't do AA games. Everything is triple or quadruple A, and then you have on the other end of that all of these indie developers for your like low budget games. There's no middle between those. And you know what I've been seeing for years is the trend is, you know, all these people working for these major publishers getting laid off repeatedly, having to uproot their lives multiple times.
Oh yeah.
You know, they strike out on their own and they go indie, and they're finding more success there. And I think that is the model that we're going to increasingly see people moving to, is wanting to be their own boss because they're tired of getting fucked over by these mega corporations, and then these mega corporations are going to downsize themselves out of existence, because you know, it's like, who's going to fucking want to work for EA or Microsoft anymore
With the ironic.
after
Mhm.
so many layoffs? And, you know, these companies, they're posting massive profits in some areas, and then they still do these layoffs. You know, Activision a couple of years ago, they did this. They literally had announced, "Oh, we just had our most profitable year ever in the history of the company. Oh, and we're laying off 800 people." Like, how do those two things square? You know, it's the math ain't mathin', as they say.
The ironic thing is, I'm glad you brought up Activision, because in the early '80s, Atari, of course, was the leading company out there, and they never allowed their game designers to take on to credit themselves for which one made the games. And eventually, those creators got tired of it, and they left, and they formed their own company, which was Activision. And then they started to, you know, I believe it was like kind of a profit. I forget how they structured it, but these guys, you know, were making millions of dollars within a couple of years around the time that the crash had happened. But the fact is that they left because of being poorly treated by I want to say AT&T, Atari, which was owned by Warner Brothers at the time. They went out and started their own company too. And I'm hoping what you're saying is what happens again, that people who are tired of getting laid off, people who really want to make the games they would like to make and not meet some kind of corporate mandate, actually leave, start their own companies, and start coming up with games that are innovative. I know that there's no venue like arcade anymore, but there is mobile, which is not my ideal place to go, but it is a great way to get your game out there. And maybe somebody will.
Mobile is trash because again of these big corporations and their
True.
greed. Like, I used to be an advocate that mobile games could be just as deep an experience as console games, but like these companies have come along and ruined that. Like,
Yeah.
All of these tactics to appeal to whales and manipulate them, and all these consumables, and mobile is garbage.
Yeah.
Mobile is garbage. It's no good. Indie is the way to go because you set your own rules.
Yeah.
Not publicly traded, not trying to keep Wall Street and shareholders happy, because one of the most enraging things I saw recently, comment from the CEO of Embracer, which again, spectacularly badly run company, laying off thousands of people, had a quote saying, "Oh, we're always looking to maximize shareholder value." He's like, you know what? Fuck shareholders.
Exactly.
Shareholders are useless. They are greedy. All they care about is short-term profit at the expense of the long-term growth and health of the business. And nobody should listen to shareholders, and they should be completely ignored. Will that happen? No, of course not.
No.
I'm just saying, philosophically, that's the way it should be.
Yeah. It's true. That ultimately is part of the reason why everything's gone wrong, is that these executives are bending over backwards to please the shareholder, and they're having to do things that make no sense in the long term. They're playing a short game, trying to get profits up and to keep investors engaged until like the next AAA game comes out and makes a profit, so that way they can just repeat the cycle all over again, lay people off, then start a new project. It's maddening, to be quite honest with you, man. I'll tell you what, man. We need innovators again, man. We need cats like Alexei Pajitnov, man, the man who created Tetris, man. We need people to get out there, start their own small companies, and make badass games again, guys. Don't be afraid. Make these single leg games if you got it, man. But if you make them with innovation, man, you're gonna get people to get back into this and hopefully not support these big corporations. Nothing would make me happier than to see these major companies fail. And I'm not usually vindictive like that. And I know there's a lot of people who work for these companies that I do want to see continue to work and be able to make a living. But at this point, I think the jig is up. I honestly do. I think that at this point, with all these layoffs happening and this point of transition that we're in, it's a grim outlook that that a lot of us have, even with the games that are on the horizon. Where do we go next besides this getting worse? These people don't seem to have a conscience, and the only ones that end up getting rewarded in the end is the people in charge, while everybody else underneath them can be fucked. So I've lost complete confidence in these captains of their respective ships, and I don't know when they're gonna get their heads out their ass to finally realize that they're not doing this alone, and that other people are here, and it's been their dream to work in this industry, and you guys are constantly killing it for them and robbing them of their dream, and it's a fucking shame, man. I don't know what to say.
Well, here's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Games are made by developers, not executives.
Yes.
No executive has ever made a game coming from the business side of things. That's why it was very rare to see Satoru Iwata come up through the ranks, starting off as a developer at HAL, all the way up to CEO of Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what it was like. It was a rarity, and he did things like cut his own salary
Yes.
and the salary of other executives during
Mm-hmm.
the bad days of the Wii U, so that way they wouldn't have to do layoffs. Can you think of any American CEO like Bobby Kotick or John Rosatello from formerly Unity and EA? Can you think of any of those bastards taking a cut to their salary?
That would never happen.
No. And Iwata's point, and this is documented in Ask Iwata and in interviews, he said, we don't want to do layoffs because that's not good for the business, because it decreases the morale of the people who are left behind, because they wonder if they're going to be next. And if the morale is low among the remaining employees, they're not going to make the best game possible.
No, they're not. And it's a shame.
You know, and that's common sense. Like, that's not a very deep insight.
No.
But it's, you know, it's such a rare thing to see that it's almost like it is. And, you know, there's no safety anywhere because Sony a while back announced a bunch of layoffs at studios like Insomniac. And this is like, Insomniac just put out Spider-Man 2 last year,
Right.
which was one of the most acclaimed games of the year and one of the best-selling games of the year. And it's like, if even they are having layoffs, then what safety is there anywhere in the industry?
That's the problem with playing the AAA game production process. Instead of having like another game for these people to be transferred over to, you'd figure that after working on Spider-Man and winding that project down, they'd have
Well,
something.
they have
to
plenty
go
of
into.
games. They have, you know, we found out from leaks.
Mhm.
We know they're doing a Wolverine game.
That's right.
We know from leaks they're doing an X-Men game.
Mhm.
We know they have on their roadmap to do Spider-Man 3 and a Venom game. And I think even further down the roadmap, another Ratchet and Clank. So like, there's tons of projects,
Yeah.
but apparently, you know, Sony needed to, you know, count those beans and cut that head count. So
Yeah.
it's like, why even want to work for one of these major studios? You know, and Sony, another publisher that I'm kind of discontent with. You know, these last two generations, they've really shifted their focus on. We just want these enormous cinematic experiences, and we don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
They don't care about smaller things anymore, like Little Big Planet. You know, they just want their big cinematic Last of Us kind of stuff, which is fine. There's a place for that. But not everything can be that. Not
No.
everything should be that.
No, it should have a good variety of projects coming out. Not everything has to be the next blockbuster. It's an approach that movie studios are starting to finally get a hold of again, because we're starting to see the return of the mid-budget movie, which I think is great. We haven't seen that in a long while. That also needs to happen in the gaming industry too. We need the mid-budget game. We need games that are more so about the gameplay itself, drawing people in. It doesn't have to be an entire spectacle. Yes, have your AAA game come out once a year, but there should be other projects you're working on, and it doesn't seem like it seems like they've lost the plot. Absolutely lost.
Well, you know,
it.
it's very frustrating to see in all these industries, companies having to very painfully, at the expense of their employees, have to relearn lessons they should have never forgotten.
Yeah,
I think this is a good transition point into film and TV.
certainly.
So, you know, obviously streaming is a shit show.
Yeah.
We have a bajillion streaming services compared to just, 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And all of these streaming services have forgotten and lost sight of the one simple formula that applies to all businesses. And that formula is, are the costs to create and market your product lower than the revenue you bring in? The answer to that question is yes. Then congratulations, you are profitable. You are doing business the right way.
Exactly.
The answer to that question is no. You're a fucking moron.
Right.
And yet, that is where every major studio, minus Sony, is now with the streaming wars.
And Lionsgate.
Because-
Lionsgate as well. They don't have a streaming service either, and they're making profit as well. They're not as major as Sony is, but they're pretty big at this point.
I don't count them as one of the majors.
Gotcha. All right.
They're a mini major.
Gotcha.
Anyway,
AAA.
all these studios, they wanted to copy Netflix's formula and take all their toys home and force people to play in their walled garden.
Yeah.
And nobody wanted all of these streaming services. People were happy with Netflix. Seeing stuff like Disney making that deal to do Daredevil and Luke Cage and all these other shows, and all of that was fine. But they got greedy. They wanted to create their own playground, and they all decided, well, we need to spend tons of money, so much content, that people are going to stay here and watch our stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that, though, and this is where the lie of infinite growth comes into play.
Oh yeah.
Growth, in and of itself, for the sake of itself means nothing. Because if your acquisition cost for new customers is so high that it outstrips the revenue that those customers generate, that is unsustainable.
Exactly.
But all of these companies are measuring themselves by subscriber counts because that's what Wall Street wants to see, higher subscriber counts. But that doesn't mean anything by itself.
There's only so many people.
You know, if you say there's only so many people, but if you say, oh, we spent $5 billion to acquire 10 million new subscribers, okay, how much are you charging? The amount you're getting from those 10 million subscribers more than the 5 billion you spent on them? No. Okay, then you didn't make a good business decision.
No.
And that's why we see all this bullshit now of streaming services contracting, you know, these ridiculous tax write-offs of removing content. Thanks a lot, David Zaslav and Warner Brothers for, you know, doing the first instance of that and providing cover for everybody else to do the same. So now we are in the situation where, you know, streaming subscription prices keep going up, and now for literally less content. You know, look, for instance, you know, we talked about this at the time, Paramount Plus ditching Star Trek Prodigy.
Yep. Perfect example.
Like, okay, what'd you accomplish?
Nothing much.
You're saving so much. Like, is that such a, you know, big thing to have gotten that off your books? You know, all these companies are moving this content. You know, another one that comes to mind, like a pretty egregious example, the Willow series on Disney Plus.
Yes.
That was removed just 6 months after it concluded, and it's not available in any other way, and it's not on home video.
Nope.
So Disney literally memory hold it out of existence. And there's tons of content, streaming content, that this has happened to that has not been released on home video because, of course, you know, they've been doing that too of let's not release things on home video to force you to subscribe. You know, that's what Netflix does for the most part, and Disney Plus was doing that for a long time until only recently now they're starting to release Marvel and Star Wars stuff on home video because, hey, we were losing out on revenue streams by not putting the stuff on home video. Who could have been expecting that to happen?
Who would have?
I don't know. Maybe anybody with half a brain.
Right.
You know, Hollywood is so shocked that people want to own things. And I think in some small way, that's because they've never gotten over the fact that they hate the idea of people owning things.
Oh yes, since the 70s, since even before that.
You know, you can go back. You can read up on Jack Valenti, who in like the 70s and early 80s, he was the chair of the MPAA, and he was testifying before Congress about the threat of VCRs. And he had one of the most ridiculous quotes that, again, I'm paraphrasing, but it's very close to what he actually said. He said that the VCR was to the filmmaker what the Boston Strangler was to the woman home alone. That's an almost word-for-word quote. Can you imagine something so myopic, so insulting, so idiotic? Because obviously this is before there was a VHS home video market.
Yeah.
Like, can you just think of all of the revenue across more than 4 decades that has come from VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, that Hollywood might not have had at all if they had succeeded in like killing VCRs.
Yeah, they would
have shot themselves in the foot.
They would have missed out on
and denied themselves a future.
Yeah, exactly. They would have missed out on the windfall of money. I'm trying to find the quote now, but I was telling you some time ago that Matt Damon was on Hot Ones, and he was talking about how much money they used to make off of home video back in the day, because you know he got in like in the late 90s at the time where home video was at its peak, and you know you got revenue from, of course, the box office, then of course from home video, then of course from the rights to air movies on premium cable channels, and then eventually airing it on networks and syndication. There were like 4 levels
and
of getting and airplanes and other ways that you can license your films and TV shows out. And now that has just completely diminished because of streaming. It's because people make
Yeah,
movies.
and you don't own
Mhm.
anything.
You own nothing, and that's even
You
worse.
own nothing.
It's
Which is why, again, folks, buy physical media
yeah.
when it's possible to, because obviously it has to be released on physical media first for you to be able to buy it. And I'm still looking at my shelf, angry that I don't have a Blu-ray for season 3 of Daredevil.
Oh shit.
You know, I'm looking at my shelf and I'm annoyed that Fox decided to put out seasons 2 and 3 of Legion only on DVD and not bother with Blu-ray. This is another common thing on home video that annoys me, but that's not germane to this discussion. So, you know, none of this has to be happening. I saw an article on Variety today where they were quoting Bob Iger.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about how, you know, when we got into this streaming space with Disney Plus, we were neophytes and we overinvested and we ended up having quantity and not quality. It's like, guys, Bobby, Bobby, my Bobby, my guy, my pal. Look,
You turned into Ellis from
yes, I'm turning into Ellis.
Ellis
Let's
from
make
fucking,
let's make a deal.
from Die Hard.
Bobby, just because you are moving into a new technology platform, that does not mean that the fundamental rules of business change.
Mhm.
It's just like how the laws of physics don't change on one particular stove when you're trying to make grits and you're watching some young men stick up a convenience store across from your house. Physics remain the same. Business fundamentals remain the same.
Exactly.
Again, are you making more money than you are spending?
Mm-hmm.
That's all that really matters. But these studios have insisted on forgetting this lesson and have proliferated all these streaming networks. Like, for God's sakes, why do we need MGM Plus?
You're right.
Why do we need AMC Plus? Why is everything fucking plus? Can nobody think of a better fucking name than Plus?
One person takes it,
You
takes,
know,
takes
and
the
all we're
baton, and everyone
doing-
runs with it.
Yeah. All we're doing is recreating cable in a different way because, you know, all these streaming services, they're DTC, direct to consumer businesses, whereas before in cable, like cable was the middleman.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up
And, you
because Variety and some other outlets have been reporting that cable companies like Comcast and they're starting to bundle these packages because the streaming services are tired of churn. Where people, and for those that don't know what churn is basically some people only sign up for a streaming service for like 1 month to be able to watch an entire show and to drop off. They're tired of that. They want people to be subscribed for a year, if not more. So they're starting to do these bundles under cable providers that will allow you to bundle a bunch of services together for a low cost at first, but you're under contract. You have to stay on there.
It'll keep going up.
Yeah, and they'll
Yeah,
eventually go
and
up.
we're
It's the
basically
same
just
old game.
recreating cable.
Yeah, that's it.
We're recreating cable.
Exactly.
And the whole point of streaming was to not be cable. The whole point of streaming was to not give you things that you didn't want. And, you know, Hollywood just went head on into this new business venture of streaming without having had a business model figured out first.
Mm-hmm.
They destroyed all of the business model of broadcast and cable TV that was profitable,
Mm-hmm.
was successful. You know, they destroyed streams of licensing revenue for licensing content to other providers,
Right.
to which I give Sony great credit for not going down that route.
Yep.
And, you know, not setting up Sony Plus. Obviously, they are involved in the streaming business through Crunchyroll, but that's a different story. And,
Right.
you know, another rant for another time.
Oh.
But you also had so much consumer dissatisfaction needlessly because every time one of these companies would debut their app, it would fucking suck. It would be broken.
Yes.
It would not scale properly to the amount of bandwidth needed for the users it had. It'd be lacking in features, and it's like, oh look, 1 year later, this streaming app finally added a feature that Netflix had 4 years ago. Just to sit on Crunchyroll briefly as a little drive-by, why is it that in 2024 Crunchyroll has just now added profiles?
Yeah, that is kind of strange. I just actually subscribed to them and saw that they had that, but the time previous that I got on there, they didn't have it. So yeah, I don't understand it at all. It's such a basic feature to have. It's foolish. But yeah, I'm glad they finally got caught up with the times.
We have to go through this every single time some studio decides to jump into the streaming game and have to build up an app from scratch.
Right.
It's like, how many more times do we have to deal with this nonsense? Which I might have mentioned this before, but there is a name for this concept. You can look up on the interwebs an author named Cory Doctorow. He wrote an article about the concept of enshittification. And this is about the death of online platforms. And enshittification, which he also calls platform decay if you want a nicer name to use, it has 4 steps. Number 1, first, a company is good to its customers.
Yeah.
Step 2, the company abuses its customers to benefit its business clients.
Oh, man.
Step 3, the company abuses its business clients to claw back all the value for itself. Step 4, the company dies. Take a look at, say, Amazon. I would say they're on step 3. Amazon Prime is, the prime example, pun intended, of this. Amazon Prime back in the day, was $79. You got that 2-day shipping, and you got access to that video library. They wanted to grow that library more and more and more.
Yeah.
And they started increasing the prices. Amazon Prime, more and more and more. Right now, I'm paying $150. And because that wasn't enough for old Jeff Bezos, Jeffy boy, Jeff now in Miami.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He instituted this thing at the start of the year of, we're going to put ads, Prime Video, even if you're already paying $150 a year for it. And if you don't want to have ads, then you need to pay me an extra $3 a month.
Wow. And it's funny.
This guy is literally the richest man in the world. He does not need any more of my money. He does not, but this is how they are trying to increase revenue because they've exhausted all their options. Look at what Netflix started. They've expanded to pretty much every country in the world, so there's no more international markets to expand to. So the next step was to crack down on password sharing.
Right.
And now everybody's cracking down on password sharing to increase revenue. Like, you tell me that Disney is hurting for money so bad, they need to crack down on password sharing on Disney Plus and Hulu. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, once I saw Netflix do it, I knew everybody was going to follow suit. I knew it, and sure enough.
Well, that's what happens in every industry. As soon as somebody makes that leap, and it provides cover for everybody else to do it later.
Yeah, the only way that wouldn't have worked out is if people started unsubscribing in mass, which I had a feeling that wasn't going to happen. But that's the one thing I was hoping for, and it didn't happen. So here we are, man. Now Disney Plus is doing it, and I forget which the next service is on the docket to do it. Probably I don't know if Amazon does it, because I'll admit it, I'm currently password sharing on the Amazon account, but.
But I password share a bunch of stuff, so I'm not happy about it. But all of these password crackdowns, all that that's going to do over time is just boost piracy, which is already on an increase anyway. And it was decreasing after these streaming options initially became available because, if you want to beat piracy, you don't pass a bunch of laws. You don't have the scary federal government logo. And the scolding of piracy is not a victimless crime that you see on top of every freaking DVD that you had to legitimately buy with money to be able to watch. So it's like, why am I getting scolded when I bought this fucking Blu-ray
Yeah,
legitimately. If you want to beat piracy, make a better product than the piracy.
exactly.
That's been the one truth of this ever since the Napster era. Make a better product than the piracy, and people will buy stuff.
I'll
But
say. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
that was it.
No, my favorite era, looking back at the time where we could get media, was the late 2000s, where we were buying anime on Blu-ray. We were buying movies on DVD and Blu-ray. And there were stores that actually sold them on the shelf, but even then we could order it off Amazon. We couldn't find it that way. Nowadays, they've been playing so many games of not making things available anymore, especially when it comes to physical media, that and now taking shows off of streaming, especially the shows that they go and they do for tax write-off nowadays, movies and TV shows that are no longer available, like Symbiotic Titan and some other ones. But the fact that they're not available now, the only chance we have to be able to archive them or even see them is by piracy. And it's not something I want to stoop to, really. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. I've done my fair share of sailing the seas, but in my older years, I only do it if I absolutely have to, right? And if I can support something officially, I'll do it because I have the means to do it now. But when you make it this hard, or you work against the consumer this hard, you just only lighten the fires for this again, and that's not smart. It really isn't. I don't know exactly how much it would cost for a streaming service to have all this content on there, but this got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to provide these shows for us so that we can continue to keep up with them and watch them even if the shows have ended, without having to stoop to piracy. But if it's something that I really love, if it's a show I really enjoyed, and this is the only way I can see it, man, I don't know what to tell you. That's why I got a VPN. That's why I got it.
VPN,
Yeah,
but,
you definitely should.
One of the things that I see as a bigger problem is that because of corporate greed and Wall Street's greed, being profitable is just not good enough. So it's like, let's just destroy something rather than have it be decently profitable.
Yeah.
One example, David Zaslav, the fucking idiot, tried to kill TCM,
Yes.
which was profitable, but not super profitable.
Mm-hmm.
And it only stopped when you had big name directors like Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, I think Steven Soderbergh, all rallying to the defense of TCM and saying, no, this is like a cultural, institution that, is about the preservation of film and like the history of film and love of film. And, we can't have this go away. And, we will work for free to like program the content for this and keep this alive. And it's
Absolutely.
okay, but like, why did it take, those guys to come and have to say this? Like, why couldn't its inherent value have been recognized? Well, because these people are fucking bean counters and all they care about is the next, because don't forget, a lot of these, well, all of these CEOs,
Mm-hmm.
They have a base salary, but they also have compensation that is
yeah.
tied to the stock price.
Mhm.
And they act in ways that benefit themselves and not the company.
Exactly.
One of the easiest ways to do that is stock buybacks, which used to be illegal, and guess who made it legal?
You talking about a former
The answer
president?
the answer is Reagan. Yes, the
so-
answer is Reagan. So thanks Reagan for that too.
Thanks a lot.
So stock buyback is when you buy back your own stock, which has the effect in the short term of boosting the stock price. Before stock buybacks were legal, these companies were forced to invest all of this money into their company. That could take the form of research and development for products. It could take the form of, actually paying your fucking employees more than just a living wage. But ever since stock buybacks came into vogue again, these companies like Boeing will just waste all this money to increase their own stock price, and then these executives cash out and fuck it, who cares what happens to the company afterwards as long as I get my golden parachute. So all of the incentives exist for these greedy short-sighted CEOs to act in their own benefit and not in the companies. And it's like,
Exactly.
if you all were just 10% less greedy, these companies could still be profitable and survive into the future instead of, these messes like, Paramount falling apart the way that it is, trying to sell itself off, and all these people stepping up to buy it, including, um, hedge funds. And it's like we need to stop having these hedge funds like investing in all these things. They're destroying newspapers. They're buying up rights to old music and making it impossible to license.
Right.
And it's just all this financialization and greed of unparalleled levels. And that's not to say that people haven't been greedy at all times of human history. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money,
Sure.
be successful.
Absolutely.
But this is just a level of greed that is unsustainable and is destroying the very profitability that people are seeking.
It's
Because
unrealistic.
people are just going to be left with a pile of ashes at the
Yeah.
end.
So
It's unrealistic.
all these great institutions, well, all these major institutions are businesses that have been around for over 100 years, like these movie studios, like Paramount and Disney and Warner Brothers. I can't believe I'm saying they're over 100 years old, because I remember when they were celebrating their 75th anniversaries years ago. But to see how much in trouble that a company like Paramount is, that Sherry Redstone, who owns National Amusements, who owns Paramount, can't even sell to someone who's actually who actually cares about film. David Ellison, he runs Skydance, and he actually is in the entertainment business, which a lot of these CEOs and executives who are working for these studios now don't give a fuck about what's being made. They just are worried about profit, and that's it. They could give a fuck about the creative
but
process.
he
But
he kind of sucks too, because
Yeah.
he's just a silver spoon rich boy
true,
who got all the money for his company from his
his dad,
rich ass daddy,
who owns
Larry
Oracle.
Ellison, who's CEO of Oracle,
Yeah.
and is a major asshole. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he does like the industry, but like, let's not give that guy too much.
I'm not trying to
because-
fluff him up more than anyone else, but
Yeah.
he's really the only.
But I get it. He's the lesser
only-
of two evils.
He's the
compared
only
to,
chance that Paramount will not be broken up into a million pieces if Skydance bought it. Because if any other company buys it, like Sony's put in an effort for it. I know Byron Allen and his company, they're trying to get it because he wants CBS and those networks, and he still might get them if he puts in an offer to buy them once another company buys the studio. But yeah, he
Guy
seems to be
just
the
makes
best
a bunch of
chance.
offers and never go anywhere.
Yeah, that's true, right? But he's rich as fuck, though. I was shocked to hear. But yeah, it's depressing. It's fucking depressing, man.
Yeah.
But go
It's just
ahead.
all these greedy vultures everywhere, and unfortunately, the outlook I feel is very pessimistic for this, because you look at some of these success stories over the last couple of years, like A24 really has made a name for itself
Yep.
as being a home of like really weird movies,
Yeah,
and
but
look at
mid-budget
one of
or
the high
low budget.
points,
Mhm.
mid-budget, low budget, and look at the success they managed to achieve out of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
Well, we couldn't let that happen too long, could we? So, now some finance bros have invested in A24, and they want to turn A24 into a mini major.
Oh Jesus. Oh, party's
Make
over.
More mainstream fare. So, hope you enjoyed all your weird movies, because, now they have to do mainstream movies just like everybody else, and not weird things, which is what they made their whole name off of.
Hey, Blumhouse, you're next.
So, thanks. Yeah. Thanks, capitalism. I hate it. The outlook, I think, on the grand scale is not good, because these massive companies, they stifle creativity. They just lay off thousands of people, and it means nothing to them. I think the future, such as it is, comes from people just doing things on their own from the bottom up. Going back to video games, all these people, like I said, creating these indie studios because they're just tired of being fucked over, and they do things their own way. They say, hey, we're not going to fucking crunch because it's not healthy, it's not good. We're not going to repeat the mistakes of before. And that's the only way forward, is to avoid these mega companies and let them spiral into their own destruction.
For the most part, and
You know,
I'm afraid of
the
the
world
destruction that
doesn't
happens.
need
But
EA.
no,
You know,
they
the
don't.
world doesn't need EA.
Or Activision.
You know, the world doesn't need Activision.
Yeah.
Especially not if, you know, all of these studios that make innovative games are getting shut down, and all that's being focused on is just the ultra huge games. We don't need that stuff. I would
Exactly.
rather see people's creativity go towards things they actually love. You know, one small example of this, sticking on video games for a minute. Have you
Mhm.
ever played Horizon Chase?
Never played it. No.
Heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So it's a retro themed arcade style racer. It's on all the platforms. It's very heavily inspired by the Top Gear video games on Super NES.
Oh yeah.
No relation to the TV show. So, you know, they put out 2 Horizon Chase games, and I noticed recently I was seeing all these ads on Facebook for like racing mode in Fortnite.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't played Fortnite, don't have any interest in Fortnite. I thought to myself, man, this like graphical style of this racing mode in Fortnite looks like Horizon Chase.
Right.
And then I'm reading some stuff on the internet. This is today.
Mm-hmm.
This is just today that this revelation happened to me. Find out that last year, that studio, which was an independent studio in Brazil, was acquired last year by Epic, which renamed
Oh.
them Epic Games Brazil, and immediately put them to work on
Horizon Chase.
guess what? No, Fortnite.
Oh, Fortnite. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh.
So you have an
That
independent
sucks.
studio just being turned into a content mill for Fortnite, which will consume everything.
Yeah, well.
And think about all these studios that's like that belong to some of these big companies. Like, oh hey, Studio X, you liked making your own IP and doing that stuff. Well, guess what? Now you're on support duty for making the next Call of Duty.
Oh, that's a sad
You're gonna
end.
make the multiplayer for the next Call of Duty, while this other studio makes the single player, and it's just gonna all be slapped together, and it'll be
Yeah.
wonderful, right, guys? Okay,
Oh,
get to
boy.
work.
Happily ever after.
Yeah, not happy with that. I don't want to see 5,000 streaming services anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to see all these shows get canceled left and right for no reason, unless of course they deserve it. Because yeah, there's a lot of crap out there that
Sure.
has come up during the streaming era. There's a lot of shows and movies that should have never been made.
Yeah.
You know, Marvel really, really, really messed up the MCU
Yeah.
in Phase 4 and 5, and I don't know if they can ever recover from what they've done.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some hope thanks to X-Men, but we still got a ways to go before we get to see exactly what the fruits of their current work is going to be. Deadpool hopefully will be awesome, but
Well, these moves take years though, because you know
Yeah.
they had all this stuff in the pipeline. Like
it's glacial.
you know they have this Agatha series that has now gone through its 4th title change.
Right? I want to
and
ask you
which,
about.
you know, is a
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
you know that certainly inspires confidence. You know, we've retitled this series 4 times and delayed it multiple times. Surely everything is going well with it. And you think to yourself, like, okay, so WandaVision was a big hit, and we had all the memes of, you know, it was Agatha all along, and ha ha ha. Nobody wanted a no offense to Catherine Hahn, who's a
Yeah.
great actor. Love her and everything that she's in.
Absolutely.
Nobody wanted a show about her.
Yeah, it's just they got drunk off.
It's the last thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got drunk off the success of WandaVision as their first series,
Exactly.
and they just rushed this into production, and now it's like, who the fuck? Nobody wants it. That's why they've been burying it.
They thought they were too big to fail, and then these shows one after the next have just been disappointing. They're so a lot of them feel like shallow experiences once you finish them. You rarely get a satisfaction, a feeling of satisfaction after watching Andor or concluding X-Men 97, which recently wrapped up this week. For those who aren't watching, that was an incredible 10-episode run. Holy shit! And I can't wait for season 2. And I'm glad to see that some of the creatives that worked on season 1 will still be there. But yeah, a lot of these shows on Disney Plus have been absolute fluff and haven't really felt like they've had any kind of staying power. I think Loki is an exception to the rule, and then the other shows that I named. But yeah, a lot of these just seem to be brand not even brand enriching, but brand reminding that we have other projects in the pipeline. I wanted to ask you how you felt about Bob Iger's recent statement that they're scaling back the MCU. And I know that next year we are going to get an abundance of projects that have been in the pipeline, but after that they're only going to be doing like 3 movies a year and 2 TV shows. You saw that news?
Yeah, and it's like he's saying that, but that's not going to come to fruition for years because 2025 and 2026 they have 3 and 4 movies each year, and they have multiple TV shows in the works.
Mm-hmm.
They have the entire Ironheart series that they filmed.
Yeah, they did.
And they're delaying it till next year. Why is Neo in the chat?
I think he jumped in. I think he
is that a Neo?
Break in. I'm doing a break.
Oh, it's a Mr. Economist.
Oh shit! It's an invasion.
Oh shit!
No. Actually, no, I didn't have. Actually, today was better than what I thought. So thank you. I was listening when I was walking in Foxy, but continue on. I'm enraptured with.
He heard about money being talked about, and he just slid right in.
No, I think it's good what you guys are saying. I said to these guys for the stream, I said to them on the chat here, I was like, is this Gundam or a TED Talk about the evils of deregulation, consolidation, and supply side economics?
Yes.
Yes. But continue.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, capitalism, as I said at the top of the show, capitalism bad.
Not bad.
it's
I think you have to put it in the aspect of unfettered capitalism. Like the first part of the first 50 years of the 20th century was fettered capitalism, especially from like the 1930s till about the 1970s. And you didn't have a lot of these problems, but then the 80s happened, and and you're right. You're seeing these once great companies, and it's kind of crazy. And yeah, go on about the Bob Iger thing, because there's another funny thing that I saw come up about them today. That's like the counterpoint to what you were talking about with this whole thing with the MCU and all that. But go ahead.
So obviously they should have never scaled up the MCU the way they did, because for phases 1 through 3, their whole thing was we want it to be so you don't have to feel that you're missing out things by not watching every movie and every TV show. And then with phase 4, they're like, you know what? Fuck you. You didn't watch 3 different TV shows and these 5 movies. You're going to be lost, and we don't give a fuck because we know you're going to watch anyway.
Yep.
And you look at Marvels, which was an okay movie, but it was not the sequel that Carol Danvers as a character or that Brie Larson as an actor deserved.
Right.
Yeah.
She did not deserve to become 1/3 of a hero team in her own sequel.
Yeah.
And that sequel was built upon the idea that you needed to have watched WandaVision, Miss Marvel beforehand, and if you didn't, then you were fucked. Too bad, so sad.
They took the audience for granted.
That approach just has not worked. It has not worked in phase 4 and 5, and they're course correcting. And he's like, we're going to cut back, and obviously in 2024 we're only getting Deadpool and Wolverine, but that's a product more of the strikes than of any attempt to try to downsize. It's like then 2025 and 2026 jammed full of movies. So like you're talking about making a change, but it's going to be years before people start seeing the change.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're already dissatisfied with where things are now, you're saying they have to put up with 3 more years of it before it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Nobody has the patience to stick around for that. People don't have the time or the inclination to want to give him that space to do that. That's just a really dumb statement. Oh yeah, we're going to pair back, but not until 3 years from now. That's the unspoken part.
That's pretty
But
much
what's funny about that though is I saw something today where they said that the parks. He said that the parks are going to be from this point on are going to be IP driven. So all the Disney parks.
They've been that way for decades.
But I know, but I'm thinking they're talking more of like the more modern IPs, not just the classic Disney characters. And it's like, okay, so how are you going to do this? You're going to, your movies always used to be kind of like what soft advertisements for the parks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a vicious cycle. And I mean, it's there's a lot of problems there, and I don't know how you fix it. I mean, I think you do. I do, but it's going to have to actually come like legislatively. They're going to have to break stuff up. I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
So
all these companies are too big. They need to all be busted up, and there's too much consolidation, and it just stifles creativity. It stifles the creation of good products, of good art, and this is not the way any of this should have ever developed.
And it destroys. It's sad because they had the MCU. I mean, it's almost like they were ahead, and then it's just like we got to push it to be more. And it's like, okay, when you started it, you never thought the end movie was going to be making $2 and $3 billion and be one of the highest grossing movies of all time. You have to realize you can't replicate that. Like it's you finish like a magnum opus, and then it's like you're thinking that you're just gonna shit quantity all over the place, and that's gonna make it better. I mean, I think that's the problem. That's the thing that people like about the new X-Men '97 is it's actually a well thought out season, and it was entertaining, and the story was there. This other stuff with the MCU now, I don't know, and I like the retraction on that Agatha thing. Now they're trying to make it spin like, oh yeah, we were trying to trick you the whole time to make you guess what the title was. No, they probably didn't know what the title was, and they probably went through so many writers and stuff.
They had all these different titles that all sounded stupid, and this one's really not that much better.
Tested for it.
And
the
thing about the MCU, its unparalleled success was never going to last for. We all knew that. We all knew that success could not the original run. I think in phases 1 through 3, it's like 23 movies, 24 movies. That's an insane level of profitability. It was never going to last forever, but it didn't need to crash so spectacularly as they did.
It didn't
either. It was not foregone conclusion that it had to go this way. They made bad creative choices, like with this multiverse saga of having no fucking clarity at all of what it's about. What is the point? As I said before, with the Infinity Saga, Purple Man wants stones. Purple Man bad.
Purple Man.
No, let Purple Man get stones.
Yeah,
that's a clear arc.
Yeah,
don't let the Purple Man get stones because he's bad and he wants to use the stones to do bad things. People can follow that arc, and you can remind them every once in a while, as they did, that the Purple Man is out there looking for the stones.
Exactly.
Right.
What is the point of the multiverse saga? We're now in phase 5. I still don't get it. Yeah, we've had multiple movies about the multiverse, and we've had with the What If series, but what is the fucking point?
There's no through line.
What am I supposed to be getting? What is the through line? What am I supposed to be getting from this?
You could see the through line when you watch the Avengers. After when Avengers ended with that end tag, it's like, oh shit, they're doing it. We know where this is going. And it was just a joy to watch it just all come together organically, man.
But even at the
the anti-Hulk brought it all together.
Right. But even at the end of Iron Man, you had a clear path.
Yes,
it was like, we're gonna do the Avengers.
You're correct.
And we're gonna introduce like the first 5 or 6 Avengers, and we're gonna do it via the movies. You're not gonna have to watch 14 different streaming series to then see a movie with all those people in it. We're just gonna do a quick. It was simple. We'll just do an origin story. I know it was. Some people at times were saying, "Oh, it's too formulaic," but it worked because what it did is it gave us a culmination of a whole story arc that, oh yeah, Purple Man with stones is bad. We must defeat him and reverse what he's done. So they like try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I still never have finished Quantum Mania. I've never finished that movie.
Wow, man.
You ain't missing anything.
Whew.
The movie sucks ass.
I got to the point that he got small and went to the place in the quantum universe where all the people are, and it was like stupid gags, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like
So that's barely into the movie. So it's like you've not seen most of that movie.
Oh wow.
No, I was completely bored.
Man.
I mean, it was bad.
It's a terrible movie, and forget Jonathan Majors. Like all of his problems aside, and like all these things with Kang, like they never had a clear plan, and that I think can be extrapolated to the larger view of just the mess that all these studios are. You look at Warner Brothers, they created the DCEU as a panicked response to the MCU. They tried to short circuit their way to having the Justice League. All of those Zack Snyder movies were terrible. They all suck, including Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Oh, and no, I will not be taking any questions. I said what I said. Man of Steel sucks. It sucks less than the movies that came after it, but it does. It's not a good movie.
Man,
it's okay. It's okay, but it's
I'm
not
okay
great.
with it. It's not the best. It's not the best.
Or more than half of that universe sucks.
Yeah.
Like, let's not kid ourselves.
I agree.
Oh,
Like the shining stars of that universe are Wonder Woman and there's one other movie I'm trying to think of it, but maybe Aquaman 1. If anything,
The first Shazam.
Yeah, the first Shazam. Yeah, that was a fun one. But yeah, for the most part,
Out of all those movies, the ones that I would say are actually any good are first Wonder Woman, first Aquaman, first Shazam, the Suicide Squad,
yes,
and Birds of Prey.
I have not seen that one, but my wife
That's like
loves
the
it.
forgotten one.
Yeah,
that's like the forgotten one.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so crazy.
Rated movie. Those are the only good movies out of that universe. All the other movies in it are shit.
Especially that Flash movie, such a piece of shit.
I have not seen that to this day. I just can't bring myself to watch it.
Let me amend. I have not seen Blue Beetle. I hear it's pretty good.
I haven't seen it. I do want to watch that though.
It's good. It's actually good. Yeah, but it's like the movie that like has no reason for being there. Like there's nothing. It's just a one-off, and it's entertaining. And I mean, I'll watch it if it comes back on HBO or something like that, and I see it. But the Flash, and it's bad when I say that I actually watched the Flash all the way through, and that tells you how bad Quantum Mania is, because I was like, at least there were some parts of the Flash where at the beginning where I'm like, oh, okay, I can kind of stay with this, but then the whole end thing is so stupid. But that's all.
And now we have this new universe that's being created by James Gunn. So you have a creative person in charge, and it's like, so it took 10 years for DC to learn the lesson of Marvel. You need to have someone, a Kevin Feige type person, who's kind of making sure that everything gels together and works. It took them 10 years and billions of dollars of losses to learn this lesson.
Good God.
Well, that's.
I mean, at least $1 billion if you total up all these movies.
Well, I mean,
their budgets.
The debt they incurred from that led to the Discovery buyout. So, yeah, it's a big.
But that's such a poorly managed company, because the bigger news with that company this week is they lost the NBA right.
Did they really?
So,
yeah.
They lost them, and you know how they lost them? They had first priority to get those. So you're now after next year, you will lose probably the greatest pre-game and post-game sports show ever created inside the NBA.
So no more Charles and Ernie?
No more Charles and Ernie and Shaq and Kenny the Jet. And I mean, that thing's won awards, and people just tune in for that. And what did they have to do? They had first bid, and that dumb David Zaslow guy said no. And I think it's going to be NBC's going to get it back. I think that's who's getting it. So that's how badly managed those are. And
just to put that in scale, similar big sports loss last year, Disney Plus, their Indian version, Disney Plus Hotstar, lost like 10 million subscribers practically overnight because they lost the cricket rights.
That's right. I remember hearing about that shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Can you
That's
imagine losing
loss.
10 million subscribers that quickly just because of cricket?
That's somebody's
Oh, yeah.
ass right there, boy. Did they get it back? They got it back, right? No?
No, I don't think they did.
Ooh!
I don't think they
No.
did.
No, because those sports deals are multi-year. Like they're usually when they get stolen, when somebody gets them, you're talking at least 5-6 years on a lot of them. Yeah. So, yeah, that's how bad this stuff is. Like, this is how poorly managed. I mean, these people are criminal. Like, it's nuts.
Zaslav, just reading the other day, got 20 million bump in his salary last year, and it's like, for what?
What? Yeah.
What demonstrable success can you point to? Like, you've just been wrecking this company. In some moment, it's like you disproved the notion that, hey, a Discovery guy can't be worse than AT&T was. Well, yes, he can be and is.
It's
surely can be worse than AT&T.
It's the only country in the world where you can take over a multi-billion-dollar corporation, completely blow it up, just destroy it, sometimes even bankrupt it to the point where it doesn't exist anymore, and then perish and actually get a raise. Like, it's amazing how this thing works. And yeah, I mean, what's that thing now with Max? Max is bundled, I think, with Comcast. It's going to be bundled with Hulu and Apple TV. And then I was reading like something where there's this whole confusing thing where they're doing these word bundles with the streaming things, and half of them don't make sense.
For cable subscribers.
For cable subscribers, and then for
Comcast cable subscribers.
Verizon, if you have Verizon, you can get it a different. It's like so completely confusing. I don't even understand it. And
it's
I don't
just cable under a different name.
Pretty
right.
much.
That's all it became. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess they had to crap out so much content, and I don't know. I mean, is it impacting? Well, they're saying what you guys were saying. What Paramount's about to go down, right? Paramount Plus. That's the shoe that's waiting to get dropped.
That
right?
more than likely is going to go.
That company's going to get.
Yeah.
The company's going to get busted up.
Yeah.
There's all these buyers. They want to do stuff like sell off Paramount Plus, the streaming network, the streaming service. They want to sell off CBS. They want to sell off some of the cable stuff, but keep the IP.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We'll see what happens. But the thing also is like all these guys, all these executives that just have fucking MBAs and they just think in corpo speak. They are just so wired on mergers and acquisitions. That's all they can think of as the solution to their problems. The solution to every problem is a merger or an acquisition.
Right.
Acquiring an IP. Yeah.
All that does is just make these companies bigger, slower, less agile, less adaptive to changes in the industry, and it just always results in layoffs of people who did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
While these executives, laugh all the way to the bank about all the little people that they had to fire.
Yeah, it's nuts. And it goes back to the what was it, a couple episodes ago when we talked about Godzilla -1. Like, we basically all had the conclusion like Hollywood should be embarrassed. Like our entertainment company should be embarrassed. Something like that is so well received by people, multiple people that didn't even know Godzilla and watch that movie. And it was done even with marketing and stuff like that, it was still like less than like $30 million US or something like that.
Less than 10 million.
Less than 10 million, yeah. So it's like, how can you? I mean, it's all about entertainment, and who is getting rich on any of this stuff? Like, what are we doing? Like, what's the whole thing? Are we you're just feeding you're feeding it to the shareholders, but there's other things in there too. You got to be feeding it to some of the other production companies, the marketing companies, all this other stuff. It's crazy. Like, I don't understand it. and then what? Half the movie theaters are about to. I mean, AMC's been a zombie company for what?
A while
5 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised it's still
Meme
around.
stock.
Yeah, watching the box
Yeah.
office this summer is going to be very interesting because Fall Guy didn't make a lot of money, but then very next week, what was the
Well,
movie?
why would you greenlight that though? I mean, honestly.
Well, it's
Like-
it's Ryan Gosling and it's Emily
What?
Blunt, and they've been involved in hit movies before. So to do a movie like that, like no one knows the Fall Guy that's of this generation.
But then
I get that, but it's a
then when you
good
look at
premise
the
for a
budget-
film. What's that?
Yeah, but then you look at the budget.
How
Like,
much-
why was the budget was like $200 million or something like
Was
that?
it
It was
really?
like a big budget
shit.
movie.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I was hearing like it has to do like half a billion, like, or
Yeah.
to break even. Like, I get it. Like the premise, maybe it's something you could do, but why would something like that have to cost so much?
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
I don't know. I
but-
don't understand that.
But watching the box office this summer is going to be very interesting because Fall Guy failed, but Apes definitely did pretty well, especially across the planet. No pun intended. But it did pretty well, and I think it'll continue. I think it'll make its budget back and then some if it hasn't already. But we're up for some big tentpoles this summer, and there were some surprises last summer, like with talk about Paramount. There was the failure of Mission Impossible 8, I want to say, or maybe 7. That was expected to make a shit ton of money because Tom Cruise, and it didn't. And now you got the sequel coming up, not this year but next year. So it's going to be fascinating because a lot of these movie studios are depending on this summer to be able to move. Well, not movie studios, but the movie theaters are depending on movies performing this summer. And it's very shaky ground right now.
So they're saying that it's been stated it's 130 million in production costs
Wow.
after tax credits, but some people think it's even higher at 150 million.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's a lot of money for a movie like that.
It's a ton.
By the way,
I mean,
speaking of -1, and corporate nonsense,
Yeah.
right now, as the time of this stream in America, cannot rent,
no,
stream, or buy -1 anywhere.
Godzilla.
I know.
Wow. At all?
yeah, it's been frozen out.
At all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they
Completely
don't.
frozen out.
Do you think it's because
Well-
of the MonsterVerse? Because shout out to Fred. Fred has been reminding me that the MonsterVerse is actually profitable so far.
Embarrassment.
But
It's an embarrassment to
but for-
Hollywood.
but -1
It's-
not being available to watch. You think
So apparently,
Mhm.
it's a thing between Toho and Legendary that
Yeah.
Toho cannot have Godzilla movies out the same year that a MonsterVerse movie is out.
Oh no!
So even though -1, that's a -1 came out
last year, technically.
at the time that it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and last year technically, right before the holidays, and even though its extended U.S. run was successful,
Yeah.
they had to cut it off prematurely because it was getting close to the
Oh.
release of the latest Monk and Lizard movie.
Oh god damn it, dude.
Right, and that's the problem.
And
because
because
also,
of that movie being in the spotlight now, no homing over here for -1 until the Monk and Lizard fades away.
Oh shit! Well, so does it have to be a full year, or does it just have to be out of theaters before we actually?
No
get to see
idea.
it? Jesus,
Yeah.
man, yo, Toho is
No
wild.
idea. Only time will tell.
Toho, man, come on, man, make an exception, man. Godzilla -1 is fucking incredible, dude. And is it out in Japan at least, like on home video?
Oh yeah, it's out on Blu-ray in Japan.
Oh,
So
okay. Right
you
on.
could
Hmm.
hoist your flag, but
Oh.
obviously that's
Oh, word? Is that so?
Fred says it's
Subtitles,
it's the most pirated movie this year.
Holy
Yeah.
shit, that's crazy.
But
Yeah, I heard that in the
again,
news.
but remember,
Mhm.
all agreements can always be amended or changed.
Yeah.
So maybe Toho initially was pushing for this, but it wouldn't. You never know. They might have tried to approach Legendary, and they might have said no because it's embarrassing to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at the list of the best picture from this past year.
Mhm.
The fact that -1 wasn't even nominated
It's a shame.
shows you just the bias against it, because
Goddamn shame, dude.
that fucking Maestro movie, that bullshitting. I sat there trying to watch it. I fell asleep during it. It's stupid.
Yo, Bradley.
I mean, I know I like him as an
I
actor.
do too, but man,
dude,
come on.
yeah, I mean, I know you wanted to win the Oscar, but that's all that movie was. Like, I watched it and I'm like, this is just him
It's
over
Oscar bait. Like,
It really is.
I don't even have
to
to have
win an
seen that
Oscar.
movie to know that it's Oscar bait.
And it was bad. He was not good in it. Like, that's not the type of actor you are, dude. Like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why is that? What's the bias on that? Because, you know, you have all these movies, they're being done for $150-200 million, and this movie's captivating people, and it's on $10 million US. Like, and it's in a foreign film. It's a foreign language.
There's so many people who haven't seen it, and man, their life would be changed, at least to some degree,
But there's so many people
by
that
seeing that
did.
movie. Yes.
But there's so many people that did and had their lives changed that never even would have thought about stepping in and watching a Godzilla movie.
Yo, -1
And
is
they
one of
watch
those
that
movies
movie.
that make you rethink the whole genre that it represents. It's like,
Oh,
holy
it
man.
makes me think storytelling.
Yes, thank you.
I mean, it's not even the genre. Like, get the giant lizard out of the thing. It's just like, it was just a good story. Like, how often do we have this? I mean, it's just
Not often enough has been the whole
No.
point of this episode. So,
Fuck.
we've been going for quite a while.
True.
So
There's one thing
I don't
I
have
wa-
anything more to add to this.
I do. I wanted to talk about the whole animation situation overall. We touched upon it a little bit, but since we brought up David Zaslav, he has done irreparable damage to a lot of animated projects, especially on Max. A lot of shows have been completely ripped off of the channel. We're living in a day and age now where the most recent Batman animated series, was it Batman Cape Crusader, will not be on Max. It's gonna be on Amazon, which is wild. And they just dropped pictures of it recently.
The dumbest thing.
It's so dumb. It looks great though.
Serious?
Yeah, it's not gonna be airing on Max at all. Zaslav has no love for animation. So when the offer came from Amazon to buy the show, they allowed it to happen. So Batman Cape Crusader will be airing on Amazon, I think, very soon, to be honest. They actually just dropped a bunch of promo pictures. It looks so good.
That shows that company's in a lot of trouble.
Which is wild to me because
if you're gonna sell a Batman property,
yeah,
because if you put
of
a Batman
all properties,
property
right? It's
on your streaming
One of their
platform,
biggest cash cows.
Yeah,
you know people are gonna go see it
Batman
on your streaming property, but the fact
Warner
that you
Brothers
sell
IP.
it
Yeah,
to one of your biggest competitors, because I'm sure Amazon paid hand over fist for it.
oh, I'm sure they
I'm
did.
sure they paid a premium on it. So that tells you how bad of a situation those companies are in then. So, wow. Oof.
Yeah, it's
I didn't
it's
know that.
it's a bit of a mess. Which is funny because a new season of the new Superman, My Adventures with Superman, is starting up on Adult Swim. It's a good show, by the way. If you guys have not seen it, please check it out. I love how it is, and I'm glad that show's still on. But I don't know how long that show has before that show gets strangled in its sleep and then retired. And if it does, hopefully it gets revived on another network. But yeah, just to see how that's happening right now. And seeing all these creators getting shafted out of the shows they worked so hard on. Final Space is a show that I wanted to watch, but I never got around to it, and that show's gone off of off of all Warner Brothers networks now. You can't find it on Max. There's shows that have escaped elimination over the last couple of years because of the practices and what Zaslav has kind of inspired other streaming groups too. But shows like Prodigy.
It's in peace, Young Justice.
Yeah, that's right. Young Justice. Is that completely taken off of Max? Do you know?
It's still there as far as I
think
know,
it's still
but
there.
it's dead. It's dead. They have not done a season 5, and Greg Weisman has moved on from yet another disappointment in his career.
That's a brother that gets no love from the industry at all. He gets love from his fucking fans, but he don't get enough love from these these executives, man, they can't wait to kill one of his shows, man. He's cursed. Greg, God bless you, dude. Yeah, Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy season 2 went to Netflix after getting ripped off of Paramount. I mentioned, of course, the Batman series, and then I also wanted to touch upon one of the biggest stories, which is Coyote versus Acme. How that movie was also basically canceled because Warner Brothers didn't want to take the risk of having to release it in theaters and pay all the cost of having to promote it and whatnot. The movie's practically done. People watched it. A lot of good word came out from people seeing it, but
Not practically done, completely done.
completely done. And
It's completely done.
finished, and yet they don't want to take the risk of releasing it in theaters because they think they're going to take a bath on the film, and so this movie's going to be basically liquidated for a tax write-off and going to be put into a vault, and we'll never see it. Thanks to these very practices.
Somebody's going to leak it someday.
I certainly hope so. But I won't get my hopes up.
Someday, somebody who gets laid off in the next round of layoffs and says, "Fuck this shitty ass company." Somebody's going to get into that vault. They're going to release Batgirl and Coyote versus Acme, and they say, "Fuck it."
And Scoob Holiday Haunt, man. I like the original Scoob.
Scoob Holiday Haunt.
Yeah, that show got fucked. One of the classics that we all love, Vegas XLR. That's been written off for taxes years ago, even before Zaslav's day. But that was like the first wound. But to experience this on a regular basis now is just insane. And there's a really good video I want to point people out to. It's a video by I forget his name, but it talks about it's called The End of Animation. The guy that makes it, his name is Zach Mulligan. His channel on YouTube is Know the Robot, and I encourage people to check this out. It goes into a really incredible breakdown of the animation industry, what they're up against now, and the disappearance of these shows, and basically what can be done in order to help correct it. And of course, the big answer is unions, which is probably the hardest thing to establish. But watch this video. It's really good, and for those who haven't seen it, it's very informative about what's going on.
It's unions, but it's also going back and outlawing stock buybacks, because
you're correct.
All this stuff is to juice the stock price. So if you're doing work just to write it off as an accounting trick, you're just doing it to juice your books, and that's all it is. I mean, it's kind of legalized fraud in a lot of ways.
Yeah, definitely seems like it.
But it's, this is just something I think they're doing, and it's probably something that's always been there. We just didn't see it as much.
Yeah,
because it was a much more diverse industry. You had a lot more companies, so it probably didn't always happen as much. And the way to actually sometimes work with things to be more experimental. But yeah, I mean, it's a little telling on probably how bad some of these companies are, really. I mean, there's their public books, and I'm sure their internal books are. I'm sure Warner Brothers is an absolute mess.
Yeah, I'm certain. And it's talking about being profitable this year. I don't know if that's the case, but it's a travesty what's happening with animation, and I just wanted to at least point people's attention to that. All the people who work in the animation industry out there, you guys are some of my heroes, man. I know you guys work long hours, don't get paid shit, are forced to work on stuff. I remember hearing about the struggles with the latest Spider-Verse movie, and what a lot of animators are going through with that, as well as the Japanese anime industry as well, is no fucking picnic. Those people are getting ground into dust, and things have to change. I realize with that means we might get less shows, but I think that animators need to be paid what they're worth and what they bring to the table. But with technology changing, I don't know what the fuck is going to be happening with animators in their industry in the coming years. So it's a scary time for a lot of these guys.
I would say for them, get retrained in a new discipline. No, seriously, they're done. I mean, AI is going to take their jobs.
Oh my god! I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, AI is definitely being eyed at when it comes to production of movies, TV shows, and all that stuff, and to see the things that they can do. It's a scary thing, but people do need to stand up for each other, and hopefully can at least condense it down to it being a tool more than a replacement for these people. And I really hope they're able to accomplish that. The IATSE negotiations are going on right now too, which involves the Animation Guild as well. It looks like it's going well, so I don't think we'll have a strike, but that could happen too. I remember hearing that the writers, the acting, the strike for that before it became a strike was going well, and then it wasn't. So this can also take a nasty turn. And IATSE is a huge portion of the Hollywood workforce. So if that goes down, everything definitely stops. So I don't think that Hollywood can afford another strike. So I'm hoping that that goes smoothly and people get what they want, people get what they need, and it doesn't bring everything to a screeching halt.
But I don't think they care though. The executives don't care. They're the ones that have the power.
But they also have stockholders, right? And they care about those, and they're not going to be too happy if they let the strike.
Yeah, but what's your most controllable thing is their labor. And you can always just shit out other content. They can shit out other content from other places.
Yeah, reality shows are a big go-to.
Right.
That's fair. But they also need IATSE for that too, to be honest. So I don't think they really can make all that much because it involves every aspect of the business. So they do need to straighten this out. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up and bring people's attention to that because I do find it to be important, especially for what we talk about. We are one of the major things that we cover is animation when it comes down to it. So to see it get hamstringed in this way is never fun, and my love goes out to all those people. But
I say within the next few years we will see the first, probably sooner than later, you will see the first AI generated and produced and created animation project. Man. You will see that soon.
It won't surprise me.
I would probably say within the next 2 years.
Damn.
It doesn't. I bet you dollars to donuts on this one because it's like that. That's what they're going to do because if they can do that, that guild can strike all they want because.
Oh shit.
I mean, it's it because you think there's no regulation on this stuff. There's no regulation on AI. So, and those motherfuckers are trying to push it like crazy. So because they all want to be the first ones to be the king of AI.
They do. They definitely do. Yeah. That was a big sticky point during the strikes last year. So anyway, back to you guys, man. Good talk, fellas. Good talk. Anything else you guys want to mention?
Yeah, do you have anything to add to this thoroughly depressing conversation, Neo? Before we go?
Well, I was going to ask you guys, I don't know if you had said it, but what do you think? I mean, what do you think a year from now, what's just in general, do you think, I mean, I think there's going to be less streaming. I think there's probably going to be 2 or 3 things that are gone, but I think there's going to be more confusion. And it's actually, I think what's probably going to end up happening is you'll probably have people just walking away because, I mean, it's ridiculous what they're doing on these streaming things.
I think Paramount Plus is done. I think it's going to get consumed in whatever purchase is going to happen. I think that they're
Hulu's got to go away too, right? Like Hulu has to.
Hulu is staying. Hulu's successful.
Hulu's
and
it's
staying where it is.
It's been making a profit. Yeah, it's fine.
Yes.
And it's folded into Disney Plus. It's pretty much cemented. So.
I know they've even changed the color of Disney Plus to have the green in it.
Yeah, but it's still a separate subscription, so it's still gonna be its own thing. Peacock, I think, is gonna merge with something, maybe Paramount. Some of these just small, like I was mocking earlier, MGM Plus, AMC Plus. Nobody needs these things. Nobody wants. MGM Plus is a stupid ass app owned by Amazon. And it's like, why does this exist as a separate service when Amazon owns MGM? Why isn't this just on Amazon?
Yeah,
it's stupid. AMC Plus is just misguided attempt by the AMC network to get into the streaming game, and they're not doing well. So yeah, a lot of the stuff is going to go away. We had talked a lot about video games at the start of the episode, so I think based on how many layoffs there have already been just this soon into the year, there's going to be probably double that by the time we get to the end of the year. So All of these things are
I
going to get
wouldn't.
worse. Don't necessarily know if they're going to get better, but they will definitely get worse.
I will say this:
Damn.
if you're currently in college to be a video game developer or something like that, switch your major to just be a software engineer for like another firm or something like that. Because I would not go into game industry at all, because that's the other one that's going to be done by AI. I mean that's the next one. Yeah, I mean that's just how it is.
Maybe more
I mean,
so than
just
the movies and TV shows at this point.
both they're both going to be done, dude. I mean, I'm sorry, once they can crack the code to have AI produce a movie that people and if people end up watching it, because it's going to be one of those things where they'll probably do one where like 90% of it was generated by AI, and then they'll tell us at the like 6 months later, and it'll be like the big success movie of that year.
It's already happening.
So-
It's already happening in music. Like going back to what I mentioned at the top of the show, when Drake had used what's his name, Tupac, in one of his most recent releases. There's that, but on top of that, the scariest thing is I've been going down a rabbit hole of songs that parody songs that are being made by AI that actually sound fucking incredible. The arrangements of the instruments on those songs, I was like, how are they doing this? How is this so fucking catchy and melodic? It's like, it's almost insidious, the music that people are creating through AI alone. Voices, instruments, sounds. If you go down, there's a channel called Obscurus Vinyl on YouTube. I encourage everybody to go check that out and check out some of the songs on there. It is ridiculous how good that shit is.
So you encourage the demise of actual live music and musicians?
I need people to face the nation or face the fucking problem, because when you listen to that shit, it's like, oh my god, this is actually good. I thought it was gonna be trash, but going on there, it's ridiculous.
How you face the problem is, if you're especially in the United States this year, when you vote, you need to think about what to vote for.
True.
And realize that not every issue is going to be solved by every person, but some people have different things. I mean, if people are telling you that deregulation and let the markets decide, well, that's what's been happening for 40 something years, and this is why we're in these problems right now. So that's how you do it, because it's all coming, and it's coming for everybody.
Whew,
and you need to stop idolizing tech bros and thinking just because they're cool and they're catchy and actually think about what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think I caught in where you're talking about the spawn of Larry Ellison. That guy's a snake too. Yeah, I agree with Chris on that one. I've read about that dude. He's just a fucking silver spoon kid that it's his little thing of the day right now, because
daddy's play money.
He's gonna buy that company and he'll sell it for spare parts when he gets bored with it. That's what he's gonna do.
Wow.
So so don't think that rich guys are the saviors. Actually, they're the problems. They're the problems.
Out of touch, man, and they're hurting a lot of lives and a lot of livelihoods as a result, man. And that's all.
But I will say this: if you look at the current department, what is it? The Department of Commerce and the Department of Trade, they're enforcing a lot of the old antitrust laws. We have these laws on the books, and they're actually going against this stuff. And you should say to them that they need to go to the video game industries, and they need to go to the the movie and film industry, or the TV industries, and do the same thing, because how they're able to. I thought there were laws of them having the ability to do production and then distribution and all that, but now there's with streaming they're doing their distributing, so it's like
an old vertical integration.
Yeah, but there was
a case about that recently that overturned that. So that's why things are going the way they are.
So I know it's boring, but if you want this stuff if you want to have stuff that's going to be successful or just different, then this is what you're going to have to do. I don't know. It doesn't look bright though. I mean, and if I'm in the entertainment industry, I'm trying to get another job in another industry. I mean, that's the best advice somebody can give you.
I'm not denying what you're saying, man. It's looking real bleak, man. God, I hate to end on such a fucking sour note, but yeah, it's rough, guys. If anything, enjoy it while you have it, and remember, you if you got archive, yeah, you never can go wrong going back. But I don't want to live completely in the past. I do like to look forward to projects, and it's sad that it's gonna be a little bit tougher moving forward. But back to you, Chris.
Well, on that thoroughly depressing note, Stillbro, you want to tell people the websites that they can peep?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll just keep it simple, man. Go to mahq.net if you guys never been there before. That is the website where the magic happens. That's our main hub. If you go there, you can find links to our podcast. You can go and check out a lot of the articles that are up now. There's a spotlight on Macross. Do you remember love, man? Do you remember love? I do. You know, I was yesterday years old when I fucking found out that Band Presto makes shoot 'em ups for the arcade for Macross, Macross 2, and Macross Plus. I've been watching videos on them shits. It's amazing, dude. I gotta get my hands on those. But yeah, MHQ.net. Go there. Make sure to favorite it. Check out mechatalk.net where you can join the forums and join the conversation. There's links to our social media as well there. And thank you guys for supporting us. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the follow button there or the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up on the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you're watching on twitch.tv/fightersready, feel free to hit the follow button. You don't have to subscribe. I don't stream nearly enough on there to earn your money. But YouTube, I definitely encourage people to go to youtube.com/Gundam MAHQ. And hit the subscribe button there. We could use more subscribers there. It would help out a great deal. And make sure to comment on the video and hit that thumbs up. And thank you very much.
All right, and that is it for episode 292 of Gundam at MHQ. We'll be back in a couple of weeks for our next episode, and we'll catch you then.
トヨタとジオニック社の技術の融合。私を導いてくれ、オーリス。ジオニックトヨタ。
You mustn't run away.
You're looking at the most advanced weapon system ever developed by man.
You must confront your father.
Either we stop that ancient.
I mustn't run away.
The synthetic humanoid Evangelion.
And you must confront yourself.
Or humanity's future ends here.
This is Unit 1.
Vice Command, we confirm that the target is coming online.
Understood. All personnel to battle stations. Condition 1.
Terminal signal plug. Injecting now. Injection confirmed. Inserting entry plug. Psychological contamination is within the standard range. Now flooding entry plug. Wait, what is this?
Just relax. Once your lungs are filled with the LCL, it'll allow your blood to be oxygenated directly.
We are go for launch! I mustn't run away.
Ikari, are you sure this was the right thing to do?
Retracting umbilical bridge. Disengage lock.
Release confirmed. Current status. Unit 1 is free.
Internal batteries fully charged.
I mustn't run away.
Transfer Ava Unit 1 to the launch pad.
Launch it! I mustn't run away. I mustn't run away! Fine, I'll do it. I'll be your pilot. Ready, Shinji?
I wish I would have Burton. I wish I would have Burton. Where's my iconic slave role? Hey, motherfucker. I wish I would have Burton. F all y'all. F all y'all. Warp speed, don't rainbow read me. Ah.
Game over, yeah!
I wish I was Lance Reddick.
I wish I was Lance Reddick! I wish I was Lance motherfucking Reddick!
Thanks, LeVar.
LeVar.
That's LeVar Burton.
For real.
That's him, baby.
And that completes the loop.